As a young reporter educated at Northwestern University, Jim earned his reporting stripes at WXYZ the hard way. In 1967, he was in the thick of covering what many called the Detroit riots and others called the Detroit Rebellion. Either way, he brought the terrible disturbance into every home that had their TV set turned to Channel 7.
Will the fire department get here shortly? They'll try. Hopefully they'll succeed, because next to this block of buildings is now burning a gasoline station. That was home, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a nice home.
Everybody got out okay, though?
Yes, they did.
Question for flight.
Well, it's obvious there have been a lot of arsonists at work. There's some very major fires, particularly in the Livernois area, between Lodge and Livernois.
Are you considering establishing martial law?
Well, I'm going down to get more information about the total picture.
Of course, times got better in Detroit, and from politics to parades, Jim's street assignments got a lot safer.
It's been a sad and frustrating last year in office for Bill Milliken. Your legacy these last few months has been to cut. You are cutting programs, many of them you put in place or helped put in place. That's got to bother you a lot. What's the most painful?
I wish it could have been otherwise, obviously, that my last year or last 2 years could have been different, not involved in these series of drastic cuts.
The showbiz time, the fun and games are over.
That's right. It's time to roll up our sleeves and go to work, and as soon as you and your cameras leave, we'll begin to do that.
I'm Jim Herrington in Northwest Detroit. Coleman Young. Look at the streets today. Campaign's in high gear.
Parade number 56, maybe the last one we call a Hudson's Parade. I think a little reminiscing is called for. There's Tony Spina, free press photographer over there. He's done 36 parades.
What makes the best picture in a parade?
Usually the end and the crowd, Santa Claus.
Oh, Jim, let me think. I've been on Woodward 17 years, usually have my kids helping me. They're all grown up now.
And sometimes Jim himself became the news of the day. Following heart bypass surgery, loyal Channel 7 viewers followed his recovery with love and concern.
Christmas better late than never. 9,000 cards that lots of you have sent. And if I can get around to answering them all, I will. That I'm reading them is fantastic. And there's one that I just stopped dead on. I thought I'd read it. Yeah, well, not the whole thing, from Sharon Harper. It came, it says, "Get well." She says, "By the way, I've spent a great deal of time in the hospitals. I'm an amputee. I'm a paraplegic. So I know that television is important, and that's why we'll look forward to seeing you back. And do I need much more reason to get healthy? The answer is no. That'll take about 6 weeks. Thanks for your thoughts."
And of course, anytime you're in this business as long as Jim was, there are bound to be bloopers.
So for volunteers, Super Bowl tickets, no. A free hat, yes. If you still don't like any of this and just want to sit there and be mean and pray for big winds and heavy snow, which we haven't. So you figure this is about as close as you're going to get to the Silverdome on Super Sunday. Truck and wind.
Jim. I bet it was fun explaining that one to your grandkids. And when Spotlight returns, we'll take a look back at Jim Herrington's years in the spotlight and in this seat. We'll be right back. Many of you know that Spotlight on the News is Michigan's longest-running weekly news and public affairs program. It started way back in 1965 by then news director Bill Fife. He wanted a program that could go beyond the sound bites and complement action news. But the action news personality who really gave Spotlight its stability and longevity was Jim Herrington. For 20 years, he hosted the show. He was, without question, the program's longest-serving moderator to date. And because everyone trusted Jim's ability to be fair and thorough, it was the place to be on Sunday morning, alongside with his ABC network counterpart, David Brinkley.
On the eve of some sort of a national health policy coming out of Washington, The car companies seem to have made that a big issue. They want some changes now. They don't want to wait. Is that likely to happen? Any significant changes?
No.
Takes care of that subject.
No,
Welfare, national level. Mr. Clinton is going to attack it next. You are in the catbird seat to some degree since you co-chair the governor's commission on that subject. Is what Mr. Clinton seems to be, the direction which he seems to be headed, good, bad, indifferent?
Well, let's take the general direction, which is to attack the problem. Absolutely, it's the right thing to do.
Senator, in your judgment, in what way is John Engler most vulnerable?
I think he's a man who has been very short-sighted. He has played politics rather than looking at good public policy, and the state's going to suffer in the long run as a result of that.
Okay, I suspect we'll elaborate on that as we talk the next half hour with Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow from Lansing, who is an announced Democratic candidate for John Engler's job, governor.
And yes, there were plenty of times when Jim and his guests broke news on Spotlight.
He has been portrayed by his own party as Ronald Reagan's successor, the torchbearer from
Look, as far as I'm concerned, the Ronald Reagan presidency was almost a disaster because we had a great party on borrowed money.
Jim's last Spotlight show was in December of 1993, when then Detroit Mayor Dennis Archer was his guest.
I'd like very much for us to take a look at some of the people who have been here, who love you very much and respect your journalism.
All right.
Just a couple of minutes ago, Governor Williams said to us, "I'm not saying I've won yet, but it looks good."
This is a terrible question to ask. You've probably been asked dozens of times, Justice, but...
Where'd you get the name Soapy?
Where did you get the name Soapy? No, I'll get to that later on. The Iacocca for president, Martha Griffiths. Come on, the Democrats will not give the prize to somebody who hasn't run the gauntlet.
They may...
You say gun control in any way, shape, form, or color, the NRA says hold it right there.
I'm sorry that they're so powerful, but this...
Oh, Brooks Patterson has been an Oakland County prosecutor, an activist, and a Republican. Welcome to our new house, new digs for Spotlight. I think I like it. Justice Archer, I think everybody in town believes you're running for mayor, are you?
I'm not a candidate just yet, Jim. I hereby announce my candidacy for the office of mayor.
We brought our Channel 7 Spotlight on the News cameras to Mackinac Island to sort of ride herd on this confrontation. It'll be an hour long. We'll be coming to you from the site of the Democratic National Convention in New York. We are in the Houston Astrodome, site of the 1992 Republican Convention. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming over.
My pleasure.
This is a Michigan Town Meeting with Bill Clinton, a special edition of Spotlight on the News. This is Spotlight on the News, Michigan Town Meeting with Governor Engler.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Channel 7 Spotlight on the News. Archer and McPhail, face to face.
My last conversation with Jim, my mentor, was on Election Day 2012. He joined Alicia Smith and me from Florida on our WXYZ.com webcast. Who's the first president you covered? Was it Truman?
Harry S. Truman, yes.
Wow, goes back a long way. Was Clinton the last president, or was it George W.?
Clinton was the last. I never did deal with George W.
In December 1993, Jim retired after an illustrious career so he could spend more time with his family, gardening, listening to jazz music, traveling the world, and collecting art. Jim Herrington, a good friend, a good colleague, a great journalist. He will be missed. Jim's memorial service will be today at 4:00 p.m. at Temple Kol Ami on Walnut Lake Road in West Bloomfield. Thank you, Jim, for keeping all of us informed for decades.